What's up? Thank you for joining me today on the To Create is Human podcast. And today is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. Sorry that you just have to listen to me and not any of the dope guests that I usually bring on. But today, and I guess in the past couple days too, has just been a good reminder for me that I don't have to have the most perfect thing ever to post. And particularly, you hear that all the time nowadays, but particularly what that means for me is I don't need to have this huge guest episode in order to post. Like maybe I can take occasionally these 10 or 20 or 30 minute episodes where I just sit down and talk to the camera a little bit, or sit down and talk with somebody else for just a little bit and post that. Like it doesn't have to be this huge big thing. There's a lot of thoughts that go through my head as a creator. There's a lot of things that I think, and maybe not all of them I should post. Obviously, I'm not just saying post everything, but I think as much as I try to not do it, I'm just trained to put the polished version of me out. And I think I need to do a little bit more of the unpolished stuff and put that out. I spent the last 20 or 30 minutes shaving, putting on a different shirt, putting up this beautiful lighting, backlighting with 2 different lights as my backlight, like setting up 2 camera angles, setting up this whole thing just to record a dang podcast. Like why do I do that? Like I could have just turned on the camera, turned on the microphone and hit record. Oh, actually, are we recording? Okay, we're good. We're recording. Whew, dude, that's the worst feeling ever is when you're not recording. Okay, we're good. But I don't know. I set up the lighting and I try to look my best because I appreciate when other people do that too. And I also just really enjoy making it polished. But I don't know, man. I recently actually watched a Peter McKinnon video, and he perfectly explains how I feel right now. I think the video was called Art versus Algorithm, something like that. And he sits down with his good friend and they just talk about what it's like as a creative to try and post and put stuff out there. And I don't know, man. It's just, Pete says, I spent the last 15 years of my life trying to become the best photographer possible and trying to create the best images and create the best grid on Instagram and the most perfectly just balanced and beautiful pictures and videos ever. And now, obviously AI can just do that in a heartbeat. But a little bit of what's disheartening for me is that we focus so much time on all this, making everything so perfect. And that's not even what people want anymore. Like people want UGC stuff. If you don't know what UGC is user generated content. It just means phone content. That's all that means. UGC, phone. User generated crap. It's not crap, but I think there's a place for it, this is not, and I'm not here to say that UGC sucks. It absolutely works. There's a place for it, and it does feel more authentic and natural and unpolished, as some would say. And I'm trying to actually make this episode as unpolished as possible, even with the beautiful lighting and everything. I hope I don't have to make a million cuts on the back end because I want to just kind of speak to, I guess, what I think it is a little bit about creating that I love and what inspires me to create in storytelling a little bit. This episode in particular may be a little bit more about creating than storytelling, but this is not an episode to tell you about how UGC compares to, all of this very polished content, video content, or any content really. This is just I guess you could say a morning post, a morning podcast. Not that it's for you in the morning, but it's, but in the sense that we are mourning the loss of, hey, just take a good picture, post it on social, and you're covered. Like that's all you need. If you've got 30 good pictures, you can post for 30 days and you're fine. Doesn't matter the caption, doesn't matter anything else. Let's be honest here. Let's be completely real with ourselves. I do offer UGC content when I'm making stuff for people because I'm like, dude, this stuff, the sad truth is that it does convert better a lot of the times. And there's a place for both. There's a place for polished videos. There's a place for UGC videos. So I'm not saying polished stuff is just going out the window. But the sad thing is that we spend so much time perfecting a craft, learning a craft, and then all of a sudden you can do it with a click of a button. And I'm seeing this with stuff all over the board, all over the industry. For example, like with a 360 camera, 15 years ago, you had to get a whole ball of cameras filming in every direction possible. And then you had to stitch it together in post. It was tedious. It was cumbersome. It was time consuming. And now you just, Insta360 has these little sticks and they're freaking epic. Don't get me wrong. I handed one to my brother the other day as he went out on a snowmobile, and holy cow, the crazy, it's awesome. It is so freaking cool. And I see the same thing across the board with audio. You can become one of the best audio technicians in the world. You know everything in and out about sound, microphones, all that stuff, right? Post-production. And for this podcast, I had to learn all that stuff a lot more than I would have to learn audio for just a simple video that I'm creating for somebody. And then all of a sudden, all these podcast platforms, Buzzsprout, Riverside, all it takes is just the push of a button and it just makes any crappy sound ever, any crappy audio recording ever sound like the most well-recorded studio. I still think there's definitely value in learning the craft. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, truthfully, what a freaking shame that you can spend so much time learning something and perfecting something. Perfecting is maybe not the correct word in this particular instance, but you can spend so much time learning and growing and just educating yourself on something and becoming really talented at something. And the sad truth of the world is that sooner or later, technology is going to catch up and become way better and shorten the learning curve for people and lower the barrier to entry. And it's just a shame. Actually, side note real quick, the reason that, I don't know if you're like me, but recently I feel like I need to have subtitles on to watch movies anymore. It might be the fact that I hate that they do this, but it might be the fact that, movies, a lot of the times they have the dialogue sounds a little bit around here. All the talking is more around here. And then once you get into the action, it's just so loud and your TV speakers are going to explode. I promise I'm going to lower that in post so that I don't actually blow out your eardrums. But it's ridiculous. Like, that's not the point. The point is, in the past 20 years specifically, but even a little bit more, but when they used to make movies, like the amount of knowledge that it took to record audio properly and to post-produce audio properly and to mix audio properly took a lot more than it takes today to do the same thing. And it just, I'm not sure I'm wording this correctly, but it kind of results overall in just worse sounding audio. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not saying that movies make bad audio, but I think overall the listenability, that's not a word, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but the ease of listening to a movie, I think, has gone way down because it's just the ease of getting passable audio has gone up. And so the knowledge to create good audio, truly good audio, is not necessarily needed to get something that's passable anymore. So that's sad. So I guess point of that whole segment is just saying, gosh dang, what a shame that you can spend so much time and put so much heart into something. And then it's just, it kind of feels like it's not good enough for the world after a little while. I mean, I've been at this thing for 10 years. And before I got into it, AI wasn't necessarily a thing or wasn't the next big thing. I mean, there was artificial intelligence in the world, but it didn't matter about having strategy. It was just go out and freaking create something and you'll be just fine. And now, and I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not coming on here just to like bitch about something. Okay. I love what I do. I really, truly do. I just have to remind myself a little bit more to actually do that, to just go out and create something without any financial obligations, without any clients like saying, hey, I want you to do this, without any higher up people saying, listen, this video needs to be this way. It has to achieve this goal. That's great. I'm so freaking grateful that I can do this for a living and do those kind of things. And I really do. I love doing those things. However, at the core of who I am it's a creator. I love creating, and creating means limitless. Like, what's the word? Boundless. Like, I'm not bound to any one or any idea or any particular belief. Like, how I'm feeling is how that video is going to turn out. And I am recording this to remind myself, and maybe if you're the same way, to remind you that it's okay. It's okay to occasionally just do whatever the heck you want and not listen to anybody else. One thing I did want to cover real quick, and I don't want to make this super long, but I saw this post a while ago. It's from Instagram's CEO. And this actually, came out 2 months ago. Let's see, December 31st, 2025. Yep. So this came out right before the new year. Almost 3 months ago. Oh my gosh, it's March, dude. Okay. So I've already seen several people walk through this post and just say, here's what he's saying, here's what's going on, and here's what I do and don't agree with. And so I'm going to do something similar to that, but I'm not going to go through all of these slides. The point of this post from Adam Mosseri, I don't know, man. He's just saying how the platform of Instagram and online sharing at large is going, like how that's going to continue to evolve and grow. He says, looking forward to 2026, one major shift is coming. Authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. Now, if you've seen Maddie Hapoya's YouTube video on this, he actually entirely disagrees with that statement in particular. And I just think that, and I do as well. And I think that the reason that we as creators do, if you do as well, I think the reason that we as creators disagree with that is because authenticity, maybe we just have different definitions of authenticity than Adam Mosseri. Adam says on this post, everything that made creators matter, the ability to be real, to connect, to have a voice that couldn't be faked, is now accessible to anyone with the right tools. AI generates photos and videos indistinguishable from captured media. Now, I entirely disagree with that too. The funny thing is, I do agree that everything that made creators matter in the past is being completely replicated by AI. Polished video, perfect content, like stuff that has no visual or audible mistakes in it. AI can make that now, right? Or essentially closely replicate it. But I don't agree with him where he says the ability to be real, to connect, to have a voice that couldn't be faked is now accessible to anyone with the right tools. That makes no sense to me, because to have a voice that can't be faked means it can't be faked, like means it can't be replicated with AI. I just find that's very counterintuitive. You should really listen to, or you should really go watch Maddie Hapoya's video on this. He covers this much better than I am. I'm just, for the sake of my own reminder, and for anybody that follows me that cares to know what goes through my head, I'm just kind of going over this same thing here. He says we're going to see more realistic AI content. Absolutely. He says here, authenticity is becoming a scarce resource, driving more demand for creator content, not less. I entirely agree with him there. He's almost contradicting his first slide of this post when he says that, because at the first slide he says authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. I don't think Adam Mosseri and I have the same definition of authenticity, because authenticity to me means that you're doing something that only you can do, right? If you were as authentic as you can be, if you're truly reaching a really deep, great level of authenticity, it means you're doing something that nobody else can do or should be able to do. AI is undoubtedly becoming great and better every day. But I agree with him on saying authenticity is becoming a scarce resource, not on him saying authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. AI does not produce authenticity, it replicates it. And if you're replicating authenticity, you're not authentic. That's what I think. Oh, it's like on The Incredibles when Syndrome says he wants everybody to be super. And when everybody's super, nobody will be. And the point of him saying that, I think that's such a beautiful quote. It needs no further explanation. I don't want to over-explain this to death. But I love that. And I think the point of that is just saying, listen, if we're all super, Meaning, let's say we have a baseline and we all want to hit that baseline. Nobody's better or worse or different. The point being different. Nobody's different from each other if we all hit that same exact baseline in the same exact ways. And I think authenticity goes hand in hand with that. Like, I just don't agree with Adam there on authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. I think content, of course, is becoming infinitely reproducible. I'm trying to think of a better word for what I'm trying to say, but I can't think of it. So I'll just keep going through this post here. In a world where AI can generate flawless imagery, the professional look becomes a tell. I agree with him there. Like, sometimes if your stuff looks too polished, and I run into this with my reels sometimes. I love to make my reels look so fetching good, where I'm just like in a talking head setup like this. But the sad truth is that screams ad. When somebody sees that, they're like, "Oh, this dude, it's an ad swipe. Like it's a commercial swipe." I do agree with him that the more unpolished your content, I think he gets that into the next. Here we go. Yeah, he says that in the next slide. Flattering imagery is cheap to produce and boring to consume. I don't know if I kind of disagree. I kind of agree, kind of disagree with him there. Of course, flattering imagery is cheap to produce as far as the barrier to entry gets lower and lower. You can take great images on a cell phone. You can take great images on a little GoPro anymore. But at the same time, people will pay for that. Like it's definitely got a place in the marketplace. He says, people want content that feels real. Savvy creators are leaning into unproduced, unflattering images. In a world where everything can be perfected, imperfection becomes a signal. And I'm finding this with my own content here, where I spend so long just trying to find the perfect guests, and I do want the best guests that I can possibly find, right? But I spend so long trying to have the best conversation with them, trying to edit the perfect podcast episode, trying to get the perfect intro, the reels, the show notes, the title, and it's a lot. It is a lot, and I'm realizing more and more I just need to put out the stuff that like is on my mind, that I just need to say to the camera occasionally. Like, I just need to create something, just hit record and create. And in this video that I just watched from Peter McKinnon, he says, my friend, he talks about his friend telling Pete, hey man, like I know you can take good pictures, but I don't want to see that on your feed, or at least I don't want that to be the only thing on your feed. Like, I want to see what my friend is up to, dude. And Pete was like, dude, that bothered me for so long because I want to have the most perfect, like, beautiful feed ever. But there's a place for that. There's portfolio, there's a website, there's places for that. And you can still showcase it on your stuff. I'm not saying this is what you should do. Okay. I'm literally talking to myself right now. So don't listen to me if you don't want to listen to me. But I'm just saying for myself, like I just have so much to take from that. I need to be better about putting out more unpolished stuff. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to do to get more to that goal in just a second. But I want to get through this post. He says, rawness isn't just aesthetic preference anymore. It's proof. It's defensive. A way of saying this is real because it's imperfect. Entirely agree with him there. It's kind of funny how through this post he contradicts himself like 3 or 4 times, but I do agree with him on that slide. He says, relatively quickly, AI will create any aesthetic you like, including an imperfect one that presents as authentic. At that point, we'll need to shift our focus to who says something instead of what is being said. The second that you see something that's unpolished and on a phone or recorded to look not perfect, it does present as authentic, whether it is or it isn't. It does present that way. And I think this last sentence here is one of the ones I really, really liked from his post here. We'll need to shift our focus to who says something instead of what is being said. And I've experienced this point a lot lately. I follow a lot of different people on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, professionals in making content and producing podcasts and doing all of this, stuff, creative stuff that I do for a living. And a lot of them, like, they all contradict each other in small ways. And some of them contradict each other in huge ways. But there's no shortage of people with knowledge out there. And so it's not necessarily, hey, I'm just looking for anybody that will tell me what I need to hear or what I want to hear or what is being said. I think the more human you can appear and the more of a holistic real version of you that you can show the world, the more relatable you are. And the more people are like, dude, like, thank you for saying something that we all relate to instead of just trying to sell me something on any given Tuesday, right? The thing that frustrates me is that now with all of this AI stuff, and it's great, right? I'm like it's great and it's terrible at the exact same time. With all of this AI stuff, nobody believes it, like everybody questions everything now. Even the stuff that is real, people are like, oh, this is so fake. This is so AI. Like, go do this on another page. Go, like, take this crap somewhere else. And it's like, well, legitimately that happened. like, how do you? It's just the question becomes how. I don't know, man. The question just is ever evolving. Actually, I should say before I try to say one question, but the question becomes like, how can you make content that is distinguishable from AI, so people don't just instantly tag it as AI in their minds and just say, okay, yep, I'm dipping, like I'm out. Yet, it's good enough to make you look legit and also to make people want to follow you and stick around too. And besides just making you look legit and making people want to follow you, to make something that you're proud of. That's the question that for me that I'm trying to like deal with and figure out. And I do think that the answer, one of the answers that I can say but not do very well is tell stories. Well, I don't want to shortchange myself. I've loved practicing telling stories. That's my favorite thing ever, is telling a good story and hopefully telling a good story in the right way so that it remains a good story for the viewer. But I really, really think that the stories you tell play and how you tell them and what you're doing when you're telling your stories and the way you're conveying them to an audience is the biggest differentiator. If you're a differentiator, hey, well, I'm using big words, dude. We're leveling up. Is going to be one of the biggest differentiators in the coming times. Let's just quickly go through this. One of the last slides on this post, and I'm just about done here, so you just stop listening to me. I'm sorry. Sorry I don't have a great guest, but I'm focusing on getting that for you. I've got several people I've recorded with that I just need to edit their episodes, and I've got a lot more that I'm really excited to record with. But one of the last slides on this post from Adam Mosseri, Instagram's CEO, says, in a world of infinite abundance and infinite doubt, the creators who can maintain trust and signal authenticity by being real, transparent, and consistent will stand out. Now, I know that he goes back and forth on his definitions of like transparent and authentic throughout this post, but just at like a face value, just seeing this slide of this post, entirely agree. There's no shortage of content. There's no shortage of content, dude. And there is no shortage of people creating content either, or people telling you how to create content either. But being real, transparent, and consistent will make you stand out. And I'm going to break each of those words down real quick because they're such buzzwords anymore. Real. I think instead of any definition that I used to have in my head, the one that I'm going to try to live by with real just means me making something that only I can make. And that's something that I have to figure out for myself. I know that may not be what you're wanting to hear, but that's what I have to figure out for myself. Transparent, just for me, I guess, meaning showing more of me, less of, hey, I can do this for you, I can do this for your business, showing off client work, showing off portfolio, less of that, and more of like, hey man, I drink a Sprite every day because I freaking love Sprite, and I can kick anybody's butt in Mario Kart because I've played that for 20 years. And I love ping pong and basketball and like all of these things. Like, why don't I do more stuff like that, And then consistent, okay? This is the one that everybody says, be consistent. Post every week until you die. Post 40 times a day, whatever. Whatever consistency is that everybody else tells you. For just 2 seconds, throw away all those other definitions of consistency and let me tell you my definition of it. For me, being consistent, it's just as often as I have relevant content. And I'm not saying that, I want to just fall off for 3 months and then for 2 weeks I'm just really in it and I'm motivated and I'm doing all this stuff. Like, of course it's, more frequent than that, but I try really hard to marry a schedule and I just can't. I do my best to post on LinkedIn every day, Don't necessarily get there. Do my best to post a podcast every week. Definitely don't get there. I'd love to post a podcast every week, but the ones that I've been trying to post are like these, like 90-minute to 2-hour podcasts with great guests. It takes a while to coordinate the recording. It takes a while to drive and record the thing, and then it takes forever to edit the thing. And I'm a one-man person. I'm a one-man band doing this whole thing, and so maybe I should just post like stuff like this more often, where I'm just sitting down and talking for 20 minutes or so. But where was I going with that? You'll have to tell me. Okay, I forget. But no, my definition of consistent is just being here. I know I've danced around the bush. Here it is. As consistently as I can do something while maintaining my sanity. So I'll give you a really good example. This podcast specifically, like just these last few episodes that I put out, like 13, 14, 15, 16, I think I was releasing them like just every week for about a month or so. And that was great. And it worked because I did have a couple evenings and weekends that I could spend all that time editing and putting all that stuff together and prepping the next guest and all this stuff. And then the last one that I released, Ben's episode, I was up till 3 a.m. getting that one done because we were about to head out for vacation for a couple days. And I was like, I can't miss a Friday. I can't do it. Like, I gotta post. We were heading out on Friday and I had no time on Friday. Like, we were heading out at like 7 a.m. And so I was like, okay, I'm staying up until this episode is edited, exported, published, the reels done, all this different stuff, everything like released, all this stuff. And I stayed up until 3 a.m. and only got a couple hours of sleep before we went on vacation. So that was, not necessarily the smartest decision in the world. And so I think for me, and this is literally something I've been defining these past couple weeks, for me, consistency just means that I'm constantly working on the next one. Even if it takes a backseat to other things in life, as long as I can just say, okay, what's the next episode? Let's focus on that now. Let's do it. We talk about batch recording all the time. Within podcasting, it's a huge thing that you'll hear. If you're ever going to record videos or podcasts or social media stuff, the person that will help you record that, the video person, is going to tell you, yeah, let's batch record. We want to do as many as we can in one sitting. And I'm not saying don't batch record. Like, for a business specifically, it makes so much sense. Maximize the use of your dollars and minimize the amount of time that it takes to get the thing done, right? Totally get it. Makes sense. And I'm all for that when I help people record podcasts. In fact, I went to Kansas City to record a podcast with one of my clients, and we recorded 11 episodes in 2 days. Like, talk about freaking batch recording, dude. But for me personally, who's doing this podcast because I love to do it, not because I'm getting paid to do it. In fact, I spend way more money on this podcast than I'll probably ever make. But for me, just doing this because I love creating, yeah, like I spend so much time getting the questions and the preparation ready for each guest. I do a lot of research on each guest. I love just diving into each conversation and making that the focus. I've done days where I do 2 podcasts in one day, and that's about as much as I'll do in one day for my personal podcast here. Because I want my guest that I'm having this conversation with to feel like I'm focusing my time and efforts on them, and like the questions that I ask them are a little bit unique to them and not just something that I ask every single person that I have on. But I just care so much about making a good product, or I should say at least the best that I can. And so, man, that was a long definition for consistent. But yeah, that's my definition of consistent, is just constantly focusing on the next thing and not letting an episode get into my editing queue for, 3 months or 6 months and just forgetting about the whole show altogether. Like, I do want to be consistent. And as much as I'd love to have a weekly show, I only want to post when I got something relevant to say, or I've got a relevant guest that I feel like I really want to share my conversation with. So yeah, that's my definition of consistent. And I have this tendency to rant, so I'm really sorry. I just go on these tangents and rant. So yeah, I just very quickly wanted to say, wanted to walk through Adam Mosseri's post. I don't know how you'd say his name. Sorry, Adam Mosseri, Adam Moss. I'm just gonna call him Moss. So, I guess this is the part where we say goodbye. I don't have anything else to say. And yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. If you enjoyed this, give me a follow, Share this with anybody that you think would benefit from it. And also just have the grandest of fabtabulous days ever. Peace.